Hey guys, so this video is a follow-up to my first home wall video. It is not a detailed how to do video, but I'm gonna have measurements, all of these stuff required to make the wall, at least the way that we did it, and just a lot more of the little details that aren't included in the other video, so that you know the sizes of everything, what we used, and at least the brands of everything that I also use for like the T-nuts, and just again more details than the other video has if you're building your own home wall. I'm going to use a lot of pictures of the wall, and I'm going to post those on my Instagram. So go to my Instagram page if you want to save those images or look at them. It's going to be on my story highlights. So that's where the pictures will be that you'll see in this video. So you can save those for when you're building your wall or use them however you need. So I'm going to try to make this one short and quick, so let's get right into it. By the way, guys, I am not a professional. I don't know that much about carpentry or building walls. This is my first time doing it. I had some help. So just so you guys know, I wanted to put it out there. I was an amateur making this as well. But that's my first wall. So, take this with a grain of salt. At the end, I'll also talk about what mistakes, what would I do different, and all of that sort. So, just wanted to point that out. Alright guys, so I'm going to start with going over how many 2x4s you need. So, according to the measurements I have, I don't remember exactly what we bought when we did it, but according to what I have now, you could do this using 7 12-foot 2x4s, 2 10-foot 2x4s, and 10 8-foot 2x4s. So with the 7 12-foot, 2 10-foot, and 10 8-foot, you'll be able to cut out everything you need to make the board that I made as far as the 2x4s go. So the way that frame looks is the 2 front vertical 2x4s ended up being 9 feet and 3 inches. The 6 diagonal supports that make the little box were each 4 feet. The 2 base horizontal ones, the ones on the floor, those are 7 feet 8.5 inches. The back vertical ones, the ones running up the board, there's 4 of them, are each 12 feet. The back horizontal ones, crossing those are 8 of them, and they're each 8 feet. And then there's 14 8-inch or so little small ones that connect one 2x4 to another. And then, so those are 8 inches. And then on the kicker, there is 2 vertical ones on the ends that are a foot each. And there's also 2 diagonal ones that connected to the base horizontal one that are also a foot each. So I will share this that I have in front of me, and I'm not going to tell you exactly how to cut all of them. I'm sure you can figure it out, but I'll try to give you a little bit of an idea. Obviously the 8-foot ones aren't going to be cut. That's the easiest way to do it. Same thing with some of the 12-foot ones, and then the other obscure ones are going to have to be cut. You might end up with different measurements. This is for my board, which is about 40 degrees. I don't know if it's exactly that. If you do a different angle, it's going to change everything, so just know that, do your own math. But that's how ours came out at our angle, and my floor is also uneven, so I might have been off if I didn't measure both sides. So keep that in mind. This is just what I got from my measurements on my board, and a lot of the time I only measured one side because my floor is lopsided. So I'm not liable for these being wrong. Do your own measurements to be safe. This is just based off my board. So let me go in the order that I just told you. So the 2 front vertical ones are 9 feet 3 inches. That's probably the easiest cut from 10-foot 2x4s, and that's what I accounted for. The 4-foot ones, I actually accounted for the 2 of the 12-foot ones because you can cut all 6 of those diagonal supports from 2 12-foot 2x4s. The 2 horizontal base ones that are almost 8 feet, they're 7 feet 8.5 inches, are going to come from 2 8-foot 2x4s in that list. And then the back vertical ones, like I said, they're 12 feet, so that's that. The horizontal ones are 8 feet, that's that. Those don't need any cutting if you buy them at that size. The 8-inch ones, there's 14 of them. You probably don't need that. You could do it 6 inches, do it basically left over. I did account for that in a 12-foot board that you're going to cut up into the sizes that you have left. That same 12-foot board will also have the 2 kicker vertical ones and the 2 kicker diagonal ones that are each a foot. So from that 12-foot 2x4, you can cut the kicker diagonal ones, vertical ones, and the attachment ones. So just deal with what you got. And yeah, that's what I got for the 2x4s. Again, this list will also be posted on my Instagram highlights, so you can check it out if you don't want to just keep going back to this video to pause and look at it. Okay, so the plywood is much easier. If you don't know, I think a typical sheet of plywood is 4 feet by 8 feet. So that's what gives us our 12-foot long overhang. It's the 3 sheets stacked on top of each other, and that's why it's 8 foot wide. So that's easy. Get 3 of those. Get the best quality wood that you can. That's gonna be long lasting. And we did 3/4 of an inch. I think that's what's typical, and definitely what I would recommend. The only difference is for the kicker. That's an additional board that we got, and that was 1 sheet that is 2 by 4 feet. So what we did is we cut it on the 2 foot height down to 1 foot. So now we have 2 halves that are 1 foot tall and 4 feet wide. And that's how we put them next to each other. Got the 8 foot wide kicker that's 1 foot tall. And that one we did 1/2 inch to save some money. It doesn't take as much of a beating. I would say if you want to go with 3/4, it's probably a safer bet. It's gonna last you longer, but it's worked out fine. So that's all you need for plywood is 3 full sheets at 4 by 8 feet that are 3 1/4 inch thick, and then 1 that is 2 feet by 4 feet, and you're gonna cut that in half. Or if you somehow find one that's already 8 feet by 1 foot, or if you want a bigger kicker, go ahead and do that. We did a 1 foot kicker. So the next big purchase that has a lot of things is gonna be the hardware. There's 198 T-nuts on the overhang, and there's 21 T-nuts on the kicker. So you need 219 T-nuts and 219 holds if you want to fill in all of those. Now this is based off the tension template that I used. So I drilled it with the specs of the tension board, and that's why I had that many holes for the T-nuts. So I'll put that up on the screen as well so you guys have that, and I'll try to share it as well on my highlights, the tension specs. So again, that's 198 T-nuts for the overhang for the 3 pieces of plywood, and 21 T-nuts for the kicker. And then you're gonna need 219 holds to fill in all of those. And obviously to put a lot of these things together, you're gonna need wood screws. We also use 24 brackets, little L brackets, to piece together the back of the board. So we use 24 of those if you want to do that as well. And then of course the other piece of hardware you're gonna need is drill bits, and I use the escape climbing drill bits, and it's just a small one and a big one, hexes to use to tighten and loosen the holds. You're gonna want your own drill and bits to use whenever you want to reset, tighten, or loosen a hold. So if you are borrowing tools to make this board, I'm not gonna put the other tools you need to actually cut and do all of this, but the tools that you will need regularly is a brushless drill and the bits that you need for it. So again, you need that drill, and you also need a bit for the wood screws depending on what you use, Phillips, or the one we use had a, I don't know if that's the actual name, but it's a star bit. Other than that, you just need, if you want to do it exactly like us, you need a stencil and spray paint to do the letters and numbers, which just adds to how it looks. It's not necessary. And then it's also stained to help protect it with the weather. So you'll need a sealer for that, and then of course some brushes to get that done. And then, like I said, that drill, I'll post the one that I use. I'll post everything that I use, so you'll see it in this video, and most of this information will be on my story highlight. And so make sure you have that on Instagram. And then the last thing is definitely gonna be crash pads or padding or some sort of foam, something to land on. What I would recommend, from what I measured, from what I've seen, you're gonna want 11 by 8 feet of coverage. I would say that's pretty ideal. If you can get more on the long side, it's gonna be better. Obviously you only need 8 foot for the width, since that is the width of the board and the plywood, but you could always go longer because you might swing out further from the end of the board, and you might also want to cover by your feet. I have about a foot gap that's uncovered by the feet because you're not gonna really fall, and you also want to be able to get your feet on the lowest feet on the kicker. Unless you went with a bigger kicker than we did, then you can definitely fit a pad. So again, the minimum I would recommend is 11 by 8 for padding. And of course you can use crash pads and do it that way, but if you want something more permanent, that's the sizing I would go with. Ideally, probably 12 foot by 8. I think that is enough to cover almost the whole thing. So, yeah, I think that's everything that you need. Again, for how you put everything together, how you cut it, I'm gonna leave that up to you guys. I'm not an expert. Hopefully just watching the first part of the home wall video and this video, you get the idea of how to do the whole thing. But I wanted to make this video to just include more details and measurements and exactly what you need to do this board. Okay guys, so I forgot to talk about what I would do differently and a few little details. So one of the things I learned right away first is that all T-nuts are not created equal. I would recommend the industrial T-nuts if you're gonna go with escape climbing. I did start with, I think they have like a couple other ones, but the industrial ones are the ones I recommend. Keep it short and simple. You want them to not strip and last as long as possible. What happens when one strips is you try to tighten a hold, and instead of getting tighter, the screws will actually tear the wood and start spinning on the wood, ruining it. And at that point, it's just a whole bunch of issues. So just go with the best T-nuts you can. Go with the best everything you can so that you can avoid a lot of mistakes. And by that I mean the best quality wood so that it doesn't tear, and the best quality T-nuts. The other mistake I made is I bought a bunch of screws from escape climbing that were black and not stainless steel. If you're gonna have it outside, for sure you have to get stainless steel. I didn't think about it. Now I have all stainless steel, so buy stainless steel bolts if it's going outside. Those are probably the two biggest mistakes. Other than that, I think it's all actually pretty good. I got lucky in buying holds. I recommend spending I don't want to say as little as possible, but it's expensive getting holds. So reach out to your community, see if anyone makes their own holds, if anyone can give you free holds. I got lucky and got a ton of free holds. And I got some cheap holds from Tension that I definitely recommend. They have their blemished ones. They're ones that I forgot what they call them. They're not blemished on their website, but they're basically let me check. So I would definitely recommend the Tension defect holds. Honestly, the defects, at least in my experience, they basically have no defects in my mind. Some of them might need sanding, but that's about it. So I definitely recommend those. They're awesome. They're some of my favorite. Those wood holds are awesome. I also did stain them just to make sure they lasted longer. I don't know if it made a difference. They feel fine. But one fun thing to know about that, or important thing to know if you're gonna buy those, they sell them in small, medium, and large, and it's random if you're buying the defect holds. I definitely recommend a lot of the medium ones. They're definitely my favorite. The small ones are really small, so those are worth it if you want a few really hard crimps or maybe feet. And the large ones are usually jugs. They're a little too big. It's cool to have some of those too, but the medium ones is the ones you would want to get the most of, at least in my experience. So defect holds from Tension, awesome. And if you don't want defects, you don't deal with that, then definitely pay full price for them. I do appreciate the quality of their products and their company. Yeah, I'm not sponsored or anything, but I've talked to them a couple of times and I just really appreciate them. So I recommend those. I also got Metolius wood holds, which are really cool at first, but I would say I'd only recommend them now if you had an indoor board. They don't seem, I feel like they're gonna break on me any second now, so I don't recommend those if you have an outdoor board. Indoors, definitely get the Metolius mixed wood holds. I don't know the actual name, but those are really cool and they'll definitely last a lot longer indoors. I think that's it. Make sure you get good T-nuts, good wood. That will help you avoid almost every mistake that I made. That is literally the bulk of my frustration, is stripping holds. You don't want to do that. Maybe do some more research into how you can avoid that. But yeah, I used all Escape hardware for that. There's probably I'm sure there is other brands out there that you can do that with. I just found what I had on Amazon, and those are the links I'm sharing. Everything's in the description for the items that I have that I could find. Everything else is probably just at Home Depot, but most of my things were on Amazon. And yeah, hopefully that helps you pick your products and helps you learn from my mistakes. But that is it. Again, feel free to check out my Instagram, breaking.beta, and check out the highlights for these images and information if you don't want to always look back at this video, and that way you can just screenshot the highlight and have that saved. So I hope this helps, guys. Please continue to send me messages on Instagram or leave comments on here if you have questions, and I'll try to answer them as best as I can. But just remember, I'm not an expert. I've done this once, but I hope this helps. Thanks for watching, guys, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It's helping me out. I want to keep making these videos. And one of my next videos is going to be how to pick a hangboard. So check that out because I'm also giving one away, which is the same one that I have thanks to Tension. So check that out coming soon. All right, thanks guys. See you guys next time. Bye.